To continue on from yesterday's video, I have a shitload of questions I need to get through, so this is going to be some fast and furious type answers. So let's dive right into the first question. This one comes from I am awesome, I'm the awesome guy. I don't know, whatever the fuck, man. Anyway, he wants to know, what is your favorite sport and do you currently play any of them? Now, I mentioned sports in the first video, but my favorite sport of all time is baseball. I played it through high school until an injury derailed any chance I had of playing professionally. Now, it may be boring to watch, but goddamn do I love playing it. And like I said, man, I'm a tortured Met fans because we never win shit. We always hype up our fans and then we never do fucking anything. But as far as what I like to play, the only two sports that I really play now are snowboarding and golf. And neither one is like a competitive team sports or anything like that. It's mostly just recreational shit. You know, when you get to a certain age, your free time is limited. So I just don't have the time to play organized sports anymore. You know, I just stick to the more casual outings like golf and snowboarding, like I mentioned, which are fucking expensive, by the way, man. And because of those expenses, I don't go as often as I would like. Anyway, moving on to the next question. This one comes from Bunny X or Hip Hop Money or whatever the fuck. But he says, which games are you looking forward to in 2013 and why? With the incoming announcement of the new consoles and shit like that, it seems developers are probably going to have a shortage of top quality games this year. But some games that are on my radar are mostly campaign games like BioShock Infinite or God of War Ascension, Grand Theft Auto. Both of those have multiplayer but no shit. But I'm going to talk about more of those in another question because some other people ask questions about those games. But the one game that stands out is The Last of Us. That looks like a survival zombie game or some shit. It's from Naughty Dog, the creators of Uncharted. So that game goes right to the top of my list because it's something somewhat brand new. I mean, obviously it's zombies, survival, whatever. We've seen all that shit. It's not a sequel. It's not a spin-off or some shit like that. It's brand new and it's a standalone game from an excellent studio. So that's the one game that I'll probably be looking at. Next up, from Me the Champ 1 or Me the Champion. Like I said, man, phonetically pronounce your names or some shit. Anyway, he asked, why did you start doing YouTube and how long do you plan on doing YouTube? As far as how long I plan on doing it, I'm going to do it as long as I have fun. That's basically it. I don't have an end date in mind or like an end monetary figure in mind. It's not like I say, oh, when I make $1 million, I'm going to stop. You know, I'm just going to basically keep doing what I do. I'm just going to have fun. And as long as I'm having fun as a hobby, I'm going to continue to do this. Now, how I got started is a long story, but I'll try and keep this brief. I've been playing mostly with the same group of friends since Call of Duty 4. We mostly met on the Infinity Ward forums when the game came out and shit. And we've been partying up and migrating to different games ever since then. Now, along the way, some of them went out and got recorders, and they would start posting up amazing gameplays, like 58-4, 39-2, whatever the fuck, man. And there you would see me at the bottom of the scoreboard, 15-8, 11-4. Now, in those games, I was wireless at the time, trying to connect to like UK hosts and shit like that. So besides lagging like a motherfucker, I was also the type of player to do the team thing. While most people kept the pressure up to keep the spawn trap going and shit like that, I was the guy at the back of the map preventing the spawns from flipping while watching the 2 flags that we currently had. So I did all the dirty work that you really wouldn't see on the scoreboard. So because of that, I usually finished with the lowest scores, and I died from bullshit, man. I mean, the thing is, I was always getting fucking killed. But when I played alone, I was always playing pretty decent. You know, I had a 4-bar connection, I might have gotten host every now and then, but because I was played alone in those games, nobody ever saw what I was doing. They weren't able to see those games that I was putting up some major scores. So to prove that I had some decent games, that I was often killed by bullshit, I got a recorder around Christmas the year Modern Warfare 2 came out, and my goal was to show my friends all the shit that would kill me in the games when they were the fucking host, and then show them the good games I had when I was playing on my own. And that's where I got the idea for the fail volumes, because I wanted to show the absurd amount of shit that was killing me from Modern Warfare 2 and all the fucking bad luck I had with those goddamn games. So that's pretty much how I got started on YouTube. I just wanted to show my friends how I fucking played when they weren't around. Next question comes from Wavy213. He got the whole Tupac thing going. What do you think about the Grand Theft Auto series, especially San Andreas, and will you be getting Grand Theft Auto 5? I think Grand Theft Auto is one of the best developed series out there. Rockstar knows how to create a game, and they know how not to pimp out a franchise for money, unlike fucking Treyarch and Activision. With Grand Theft Auto, you've seen the transformation of the game from just a senseless, violent game to a story where you see why a character turns to a life of crime. They actually put context to the crime, and it's an engaging story when you play the motherfucker. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 is on my list of games, and I'll most likely get the motherfucker, but I'm interested to see if they continue the concept of how an everyday person takes to a life of crime as their only way to survive. I really like that aspect of it because it gives a purpose to just the senseless violence the game has. And as far as San Andreas, at the time, it was one of the best games on the PlayStation 2, and it probably still is. However, if you were to compare that to Grand Theft Auto 4, you can see how the game has aged and the game hasn't aged that great. I mean, the game was great at the time, but if you were to look at it compared to today's market, you kind of look back and say, you know what? That really wasn't that great of a game, but it still is one of the best series overall made. Next up from Chris Gunner, do you like Gangster Rap? And he lists a whole bunch of artists there, and if not, in your opinion, who is a good artist? Like I said in the prior video, I grew up with 90s hip-hop. Biggie, Tupac, early Jay-Z, Wu-Tang, Dre, Snoop, you name it. And I certainly liked the music back then because that was like the cool shit to listen to, you know what I mean? But looking back now as an adult, you realize that some of the shit they used to rap about isn't exactly the most inspiring shit to listen to. I mean, all the guns, money, crime, women, all that shit is not exactly shit you want teenagers to listen to. But when most of the artists were at their best was when they rapped about their life and the decisions they made to get to where they were. Like Biggie rapping about selling drugs to get by and feed his daughter, Tupac thanking his mom for being strict and attempting to raise a kid in poverty, you know, shit like that. When rappers told stories about their life, their music was at their best. It wasn't just about killing each other, it showed how music could evolve. But when they talked about all my guns and women and shit like that, that showed music at its worst. But overall, I did like Gangster Rap back in the early 90s. Next question from WraithLord592. Have you ever been an avid RPG or RTS player? If so, what games did you play? Now, I'm not really into the real-time strategy games, the RTS games. You know, I played a couple in college, you know, when the interwebs were all shiny and new and shit. But I never got into them full-time. RPGs, on the other hand, these are games I grew up with, man. Zelda, Final Fantasy, Star Ocean, now you have games like Mass Effect and shit like that. You know, I never got into the online RPGs like Diablo or World of Warcraft and stuff like that, you know, the MMOs and shit like that. But console RPG games, oh man, I love playing that shit. I mean, just look at how long I play Mass Effect. That gives you an idea of how much of an RPG player that I am and that I used to be. Next question, and this comes from Miss Murders, and I'll basically summarize it. She's basically asking, is there any hazardous shit like Techno Kitty Adventure? You guys see it was TKE, it was supposed to be TKA. Would you not upload for safety reasons? Now, I really can't think of anything that would be too hazardous not to post. Now, obviously, Techno Kitty Adventure had some intense visuals that could affect someone with epilepsy, so I gave a warning about the game, but I really can't think of anything that would be too dangerous in a video game. Obviously, things like porn or how to make a home life real bomb or some shit like that wouldn't be posted, nor would I think it'd be in a fucking video game. But it would have to be some sick and sadistic shit in a video game for me not to post. I mean, that's not an invitation for people to go out there and send me crazy shit, but I can't see how something in a video could be so bad that I couldn't post the motherfucker. Next from Nick is not a gamer. Now, Nick, if you're not a gamer, what the fuck are you? Anyway, he wants to know, how did I start doing work for Straight Up Knives? The easiest explanation is I do commentaries for a number of community channels, and I assume he saw my work on another channel, or he happened to come across my channel, and he said, you know what, would you like to do a commentary for my channel? I said, sure. And from there, it's just taken off. And it works for both of us. You know, he doesn't have to commentate over every clip, and each time he offers a chance for somebody to do a commentary, it gives exposure to the other channel. My subscribers, they get to see my commentaries on other channels, they get to see my commentaries away from my channel, so it brings views to his channel. In the end, it's a win-win proposition, but basically I believe he probably saw my work on another channel. He said, this motherfucker's pretty good, let me give him a chance. I got to do a commentary on his channel, and it took off from there. So that's pretty much how we hooked up. Roast1326 or 1326 or whatever. What or who introduced you to Call of Duty, TV or friends? It was a friend, actually. When I got my PlayStation 3, I didn't have a very large library at the time because, I mean, that's just natural. When you get any new console, it takes a while for games to come out. So a friend told me about Call of Duty 4, and I went out and I bought it. I played the campaign, I played some split screen, he would come over and we'd just start shooting each other and shit like that. And finally I ventured online and I got my ass kicked. I mean, I had fun with it, and right before I played Call of Duty, I was playing Resistance Fallen Man online. I got the shit kicked out of me in there. So then when I tried Call of Duty, I was like, oh, this is just as fun. So I stuck with Call of Duty, and that's pretty much how I got started on Call of Duty 4. Was a friend told me, try it out. I said, hey, fuck it, let me try this bitch out. Next up from Headless, or 00 Headless 00, whatever. Do you know Chris Smoove? And also, what is your favorite movie and TV show? Yes, I do know who Chris Smoove is. I know his channel, but I'm not subscribed to the channel. It just happens to not be my flavor of entertainment. That's all. As far as favorite movie, any kid in the mid-80s will tell you Goonies is the greatest movie of all time. I ain't gonna lie, man. Nobody my age will ever say a bad thing about that movie. It is probably the greatest kids adventure movie of all time, and that happens to be my favorite movie of all time. As far as TV show, I would have to say the first season of Lost. I mean, that was fucking addicting, and it's amazing how they pulled all that shit together. You know, the rest of the show and every season after that, seasons 2 through 6, were kind of disappointing, but the first season of Lost has to be some of the best television ever created. They created an incredible storyline. So for those of you who ever get the chance to go to Netflix and want to see a cool TV show, start with the first season of Lost. You can end it right there because the rest of it all went downhill. Next question from Breaky Ahan or Break Yahan or whatever. Like I said, I don't know how to pronounce your fucking names, but at least you can see it on the screen. Anyway, he wants to know, would I ever consider doing YouTube full time? And by full time, I assume he means quitting my normal job and only doing YouTube as my source of income. My answer will always be hell no. Now, nothing against people who use this as their source of income, but the reality is that you need a shitload of subscribers and loyal viewers to continue watching your videos to be able to make it profitable. For me, I make more money in my regular job, and I'm one of the few people that actually likes doing my job. So I make more money off of YouTube than I do with YouTube, naturally. Now, I highly doubt the money that I will make off of YouTube will ever surpass the money I make from my normal job, so the chances are I would never do it. On top of that, you have to hope that YouTube doesn't fade away. If you choose to do YouTube full time, you would have to hope that something doesn't come along, rival YouTube, and take away views and money, or that Google doesn't decide they want to pay you less money than you did before, they're going to take a higher cut of your profits, or that governments don't over-regulate YouTube and shit like that, and ban third-party monetary sources and shit like that. So as cool as it may sound to make a living off of YouTube, I would never do it, ever. To me, it's always going to remain a hobby. I can never see this being a full-time source of income for me. Next question from JWiz92698, and I really hope that's an area code. What is a great game that you could recommend overall that I play besides SSX? And what is your favorite Call of Duty ever? Favorite Call of Duty ever is Call of Duty 4. That was pretty simple to answer. Now, as far as recommending a game, without knowing what you're into, it's kind of hard to give some recommendations. You know, I mentioned BioShock in the prior video, and if you're looking for an amazing campaign, that's one to definitely go to. But, you know, if you like sports, there are always sports games. If you like adventure games, there's Uncharted or Assassin's Creed. Those games are always fun. But without a genre of game you're looking for, if you were to say what's a good RPG, what's a good shooter, it's kind of hard to recommend something. So pretty much anything you see I play on my channel, that's what I recommend for you. Next question from KSam96 Trini and all those fucking letters and shit like that. He wants to know, have I ever played and beat a game called Hazard Ultra? And that he played it and it gave him a headache. Now here's the thing, if it gives you a headache, why would I want to play that shit? No, but the simple answer is, I've never heard of it and I never played it, and the fact is, if it gives you a headache, I'm not gonna Google that shit. Easy fucking question to answer. Next up from AdetTube, and he wants to know, what is your most hated game? This one is very simple to answer. SSX On Tour. That damn game nearly killed the entire franchise. It was that bad. Matter of fact, it was the game that ended up closing down EA Big up in Canada because it was so fucking bad and they lost so much money on that shit. The prior SSX games, they went with neutral themes and neutral music tracks, you know, something for everybody. But SSX On Tour went with this whole sketchbook, emo, hipster, grunge thing. I can't even explain it, man. It completely alienated people not into that genre. Then you throw in skiing, you throw in the fact that you had to create yourself and you raced against the fun characters as opposed to using the characters. Oh man, it was just a terribly bad game. And because of that game, it took, what, almost 10 years for SSX Deadly Descents to come out, man? That goes to show you, that game was fucking atrocious. Next up, from Misery1495. If you were to choose one game to play for the rest of the year, what would it be? And he says try to stay away from Mass Effect. Fucking bastard. No, but the reality is, I wouldn't want to play a game for a full year only. You know, Mass Effect is the closest game that I played to for a full year, but even then, I had my moments when I stopped playing the motherfucker and I had to pick up something else new until new content came out, just because I was bored with the shit. Now, as far as I can see, there's no game that I would play full-time for 1 year. You know, playing that long would mean it would have to have a shitload of content, including DLC, because I just can't see a game keeping my interest that long without other games coming along and capturing some of my attention. So 1 full year is a long time. If you were to say 3 months, that's a little different. But if you were to say 1 full year, oh hell no, that shit ain't happening. Next question from the Mr. UNSC. Been wondering, am I going to play any more Mass Effect 3 videos? Yeah, look in the background. Well, here's the thing, man. The game is almost 1 year old, and even when the game was new, it didn't manage to get that many views. Now, when the new DLC comes out, I might do a new video, I might do a little something, but because of the age of the game, I doubt I'm going to have any more dedicated Mass Effect content, aside from a video like this where I just need to have some kind of visual in the background or something like that. Next up, from COTIZ HQ, or CIOTIZ, I don't know, man. You guys don't tell me how to pronounce your name, so I butcher that shit. Are you excited, not exited, are you excited for God of War Ascension, and do you like God of War at all? I love the God of War series, but to be honest, I'm a little hesitant about this one because it just seems like a money grab. You know, the God of War series started fine and it ended fine. It had a start, it had a story arc, and then it had a finale. So I don't see a need to add a prequel or a sequel to the story. You know, it just seems like Santa Monica Studio needs to do something to stay relevant, so they don't want Sony to close them or some shit. That being said, I'll probably still play the game at some point because the genre is fine. I mean, I love playing God of War. I love the story up until this point. But if the story is terrible, I'm gonna tear Santa Monica Studios a new asshole over that shit, because there was no reason to make another God of War just to be a money grab, and I'm very hesitant about the storyline for that. Next question from Athenica Cena, some shit. I don't know, man. I can't stop pronouncing this shit. So anyway, he wants a couple questions. Will I ever post up weird commentaries like Techno Kitty Adventure? Will I ever do a setup video? And then I answered the other one, which was what's your favorite classic game? And I've answered that already with Final Fantasy VII and shit like that. Now, the weird shit really depends on what people send me, and eventually I'm going to be rolling out some new challenges for people to send in whatever the fuck they want, so there's a good chance that something weird will be sent in those. When people have free reign to send in something, that usually means I'll be getting something fucking crazy and weird. But the past couple of video challenges, I wanted some specific games, but now that I'm going to be rolling out something new for anybody to send anything, oh lord, I know I'm going to get something weird. As far as the setup video, probably not, because the fact is, all you're just going to see is my TV, my PlayStation 3, and my PVR recorder. You know, I never understood the appeal of people wanting to see what other people have. I mean, unless you're going to rob them or some shit. I mean, it's, aside from my TV, what's different each setup? I mean, think about it. It's going to be a PlayStation there, it's going to be a recorder there, maybe a couch, maybe a table or some shit like that, but there's really nothing different. And for those curious, I have a 7-year-old 42-inch Sony Bravia LCD. So if you're wondering what I have, that's about as close to a set of videos, I'll tell you guys. Next question, it comes from Brandon Execute. China called and they want their wall back. Look at that shit, man. Oh, man. But the long gist of this is, and this was a very attentive question, he wants to know, will I go back to my old commentary style, the way I used to do videos with Modern Warfare 2, where all I did was talk about the gameplay and stuff like that, and the bullshit in the game. This was a very good question. I mean, I'm going to leave it up there so you guys can read it. It was actually a very well-worded question, so I did want to answer this one in full. But damn, man, that wall of text was killing me. You know, there are a number of reasons why my commentaries have changed over the past few years. You know, there isn't really one sole reason. It's more like a culmination of reasons, but the main one is that I really don't play Call of Duty as often as I used to. I mean, hell, I haven't played the game in over a full year. That gives you an idea of how long it's been, so I don't have the amount of content I used to have. You know, back when I first started and I was commentating on Modern Warfare 2, I played every day. I had plenty of gameplay videos each day because I was just overflowing with content. But in cutting back on my Call of Duty playtime, I rarely have content. And the content that I do have, I have to construct into something meaningful other than me just talking about my gameplay, which, you know, you can view with your own eyes. You can see me running down a hall. You can see me dying from a fucking claymore. That shit isn't going to change. Which leads me to the next reason. If you do the same thing over and over and over again in your videos, complacency sets in. And you have to adapt and change your content to keep things fresh. You know, if I just complain over and over about what people can see on the screen or what I was doing wrong or how people can't, it becomes one note. You know what I mean? It becomes mundane. So I look for different ideas, such as a video like this with questions and answers, to break up that stream of similar content. Now, the final reason is really the progression of my anger and complaining. You know, when I played Modern Warfare 2, it was broken as fuck. Looking back, we can see that shit was goddamn terrible. And I geared the complaining towards the players in the community. You know, assholes are going to play like assholes. I rip them apart all the time. Whether it was camping in a room with claymores, noob tubing, commando lunging it, you name it, players chose to use cheap shit to beat you in the game. Since then, 3 years later, we see that Call of Duty has removed some of the more awful gameplay elements of Modern Warfare 2, but they also fucked up in other parts of the series. You know, it's hard to bitch at players playing cheap when the game is now made cheap. You know what I mean? It's hard cursing out some fucking idiot sitting in a corner when the game lags so bad that he shoots me around the corner from sitting in a wall. You know what I'm talking about? And that's why a good portion of the videos now direct my problems towards the studios, not just the gamers. Now, similar to the second reason of not wanting to show the same type of video over and over and over again, now if one day I happen to return to playing Call of Duty and I started playing full time again, yes, then what I would start doing is start doing all those old commentary types, mainly for that second reason. You don't want to stay one note over and over and over again. So eventually one day I will return, I will get back to doing some of my different commentaries, but you know, just showing annoying kids sitting in a corner and bitching about it all the time, it gets one note. Just bitching about the studios, it gets one note. You have to adjust your commentaries time and time again so that it doesn't feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. But I will tell you guys, even though that was a giant wall, that was a very good question. Getting into the final couple questions, this one comes from Spider Venom 2000. What are your thoughts on the Call of Duty community, i.e. the Major League Gamers, clans, 8-year-olds, and shit like that, and all that bullshit? Call of Duty community is the worst community of any game, period. I mean, the emphasis is on your stats and on your level of gameplay now, and that just trumps just having fun. Instead of playing to win, it's now about playing for stats like it's some grand E-penis scale or some shit like that. You know, Major League Gaming has become big business with quite a bit of money at stake, and because of that money, it's glorified how to play like an asshole. Sure, there are some great MLG players out there, but when you actually watch a tournament, you see that there are a lot of people that use every cheap tactic possible, from headshot glitching to corner camping, quick scoping with auto aim assist, clipping like a douchebag, oh god, you name it. Everything that pisses you off is glorified in these matches for profit. So of course, someone is going to see that and they're going to try and do it. Of course, some kid is going to get the impression that that's how the game should be played. When you throw money into the equation, that changes everything. So you get people that want to play like an MLG player, but the reality is not everyone will get that chance or opportunity, and not everyone has that skill to do so. You get these average ass kids sitting in a corner, and guess what? You're just a fucking camper. By making skill a corporation, you all but remove and eliminate the heart and soul of video games, which is having fun and entertaining yourself. By showing impressionable kids annoying tactics, you've now created a sad group of copycats that use game mechanics to play instead of normal skill. You know, I like that Treyarch attempted to separate this with league play, but the reality is you can't separate the money from the game. As long as money gets involved, people are going to want to cut. You will always have greed, and you will always have those who do anything they can to achieve that, by hook or by crook. Now, I never saw anything wrong with clans or groups or whatever, because, you know, people like enjoying playing with like-minded people. Quick scopers play with quick scopers, trolls like to play with other trolls, casual gamers, spawn trappers, you name it. People always find a group that they like to play with. There's nothing wrong with that part of the social element. What I find wrong with it is when we glorify the MLG players and then kids go out there and try and learn these fucking cheap tactics. Oh, I learned how to clip like a douche. Oh, good for you, asshole. That's my biggest problem with the fucking game. And in another mini wall of text, the final question comes from XIvan14X and all that good shit. He asked the ever popular, if you were stranded on an island, who would you take with you, what 5 women? And he actually puts a criteria that I have to use for each woman, so you guys can read all that bullshit. But anyway, man, I was wondering when someone was going to actually get to asking who is your favorite model or who's the woman you would sleep with, but I guess I get this question instead. So here's how I would do it. First of all, I want 5 attractive women, because if I'm stranded, at least let me have some eye candy to look at and bang if necessary. You know what I'm talking about? No need to add some ugly motherfucker like Nicole Bass or China from wrestling and shit like that to do the heavy lifting. Fuck that. I would not touch them with somebody else's dick. For the brains, I would choose Jennifer Lopez, which might seem like an odd cop-out, but think about this. How many people who are average dancers, horrible singers, and below average at acting could turn all that half-assed talent into $1 million product that she did? Think about it. There are not many people that can do that. Sure, her ass helped her, but just having a fine ass with scarce talent isn't enough. If you want proof of that, just Google Vita Guerra. You'll see it doesn't always work. So Jennifer Lopez turned all that half-assed talent into $1 million product. That right there takes some brains. Entertainment is easy, Alicia Keys. Gorgeous woman who can sing without actually auto-tuning herself, unlike that talentless fuck Kesha. She could play an instrument, unlike that phony image-conscious cunt Beyonce. She could write her own songs without needing any inspiration, unlike that fucking twat Taylor Swift who pisses off any guy she dates just so she could write a song because she has no fucking creativity of her goddamn own. And she can actually act a bit. I mean, she's not a great actor, but hey, Jennifer Lopez is on the island, right? For muscle, it has to be someone with sex appeal, not like China, like I mentioned before. So for that, I would go with Gina Carano, former MMA fighter. She was, you know, the popular one that's in all the movies and shit like that. Yes, I know she lost to Cyborg Santos. I really don't give a shit, but you know what? She looks like a man. So I'd rather go with a woman who actually looks good with muscles. So Gina Carano is my choice. For the sex slave, I decided that I would go with Carmen Electra. Now, there are other women that I think look a whole lot better than her and probably have a whole lot less mileage and shit like that. Women like Alessandra Ambrosio and Adriana Lima, Victoria's Secret models, Jessica Alba and whatnot. But I don't think there would be a bigger freak in bed than her. Think about that for a second. If you need somebody to hook you up, who would you rather have? So she's my choice for that one. The final choice is really a toss-up because I had to figure out who would fit best on the island and what talent they would bring. Initially, I thought of someone just incredibly sexy like Olivia Wilde. But by the way, her last name is Cockburn. No joke. Her last name, her real name, is Cockburn. But since I already have Carmen Electra for my sexual needs, and with a name like Cockburn, that just doesn't sound like someone you want on the island with you, right? Next, I thought about porn stars. You know, someone like Madison Ivy or Madeline Maria, something like that. But considering the number of men they've been with, that'd be like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. So I was like, you know what? Fuck that shit. Finally, I settled on Amanda Heard. And the reason why I selected her is because she identifies herself as bisexual. So if for some reason I couldn't sexually satisfy each woman I was with every day and needed some help to hook it up, she seems like the best fit to keep everyone happy. admit it, man. That's a fucking brilliant list right there. So anyway, that concludes part 2 of the video. Stay tuned tomorrow for the final part, which is only going to have a couple questions, and that way we can answer those in full. Like I mentioned, those were going to be some in-depth questions. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you in the third and final video tomorrow.